Hello, I'm Allison Morris, OSBA's Chief Financial Officer, and here with me today is Annette Crouch, our Senior Deputy Director of Business and Finance, and she's going to share more information about OSBA's Audit Committee. Annette, what would you say is the primary purpose of the committee?
Hi, Allison. The mission of our Audit Committee is to oversee the annual financial statement audit performed for OSBA and its subsidiaries. The committee members are tasked with ensuring the integrity and quality of accounting practices, financial reporting, disclosure, and internal controls.
How would members of the committee fulfill that duty, Annette?
There are a number of actions committee members can take when serving on the Audit Committee. They include selecting the audit firm to conduct an independent audit of OSBA's financial statements and recommending to the Executive Committee the approval of the firm's contract and fees. The Audit Committee reviews and approves the scope of the audit and reviews the audit plan. If fraud is suspected, the committee authorizes the auditors to perform procedures outside the normal annual audit. The Audit Committee reviews OSBA's internal controls, financial reports, annual audit report, audit findings, management letter, and other related communications with the auditors and OSBA's management. They also review the integrity and quality of OSBA's accounting and reporting principles, practices, and procedures with the auditor. Upon completion of the audit, the committee reports the audit results to the Executive Committee and Board of Trustees and make appropriate recommendations to address any management letter comments. And with prior approval of the Executive Committee, the Audit Committee has the power to investigate confidential communication from OSBA staff about suspected instances of illegal acts, violations of internal controls, and questionable accounting, auditing, or other financial matters. They may also engage independent legal counsel and other advisors if deemed necessary.
That seems to be a pretty broad range of authority. What can Audit Committee members not do?
There are a few things the committee can't do. They can't operate in disregard of OSBA's mission, vision, guiding principles, or interests, and they can't set OSBA policy. Committee members can't engage in activity or communication that knowingly could lead to or appear to be a conflict of interest. The committee may not adopt policies that might jeopardize OSBA's 501c4 status. They can't prepare or approve the annual budget or financial statements. That approval is made by the Board of Trustees. And they can't oversee or authorize the administration, collection, or disbursement of OSBA's financial resources.
All those do's and don'ts of the committee make sense. Who can serve on the Audit Committee, Annette?
The Audit Committee is composed of 11 members and alternates. There's a chairperson and one committee member from each of OSBA's 5 regions. Then each of the 5 regions also has an alternate member who can vote on committee business in the absence of their region's voting committee member. Committee members serve 2-year terms and are eligible for reappointment at the end of their terms. The chairperson's term is initially 3 years, with the length of subsequent terms determined by the Executive Committee. If a seat on the Audit Committee is vacated, an email is sent to all board members in that region with information on how to apply for appointment to the committee.
If a board member were interested in applying to serve on the Audit Committee, what qualifications would they need?
Well, board members don't need to be accountants to apply, but they should have a basic familiarity with financial statements, and at least one of the committee members should possess expertise in finance or accounting at a level appropriate to the complexity of OSBA's financial statements. Finally, all committee members, including the alternates, must be Board of Education members from OSBA member school districts in good standing.
Thanks for sharing that information, Annette. You mentioned that the Audit Committee reviews the annual audit report. What is included in an annual audit report?
An audit report contains the independent auditor's report and the basic annual financial statements. The independent auditor's report gives the auditor's opinion as to whether the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. If the auditors determine they are presented fairly, that opinion is known as an unqualified opinion. The first statement is the consolidated statement of financial position, also known as the balance sheet. It gives a snapshot of our assets, liabilities, and net assets on the financial statement date. The consolidated statement of activities is the income statement. It reports revenues, expenses, and gains and losses, typically from the sale of investments and property and equipment. The consolidated statement of functional expenses details the expenses of the association by their function and nature. The function refers to the purposes for which the costs were incurred, such as for specific programs, services, or for general administration of the association. The nature refers to the economic benefits received in incurring those expenses, such as salaries, travel, postage, and supplies. The consolidated statement of cash flows shows the major sources and uses of cash during the period stated. And finally, the notes to the consolidated financial statements provide more detail for the numbers that are shown on the statements. Basically, they're the stories behind the numbers.
Annette, you mentioned that these statements and footnotes are consolidated. What entities are consolidated on OSBA's financial statements?
Great question. We consolidate those entities in which OSBA has control and economic interest. The three entities, also known as subsidiaries, that are consolidated on OSBA's annual financial statements are School Pool, which is a for-profit, wholly owned subsidiary that has developed an online search application software called Revelis, and it sells that software to other state school board associations. Secondly, we have the OSBA Insurance Agency, which is a broker of the OSBA insurance program, currently offering accidental death and dismemberment insurance to school board members and administrators, as well as their dependents. And third, we have the OSBA Scholarship Foundation. That's a 501c3 not-for-profit charitable trust organized to receive tax-deductible donations for certain scholarships and book grants rewarded to Ohio public school students.
That's great information, Annette. If you have any questions about OSBA's Audit Committee or its annual audit report, you can contact either of us and we'd be happy to share more details.